To a close with the orange and blue game, and we saw the defense lead the way. Let's get into it right here on Gators Breakdown.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Coming at you late or I guess early, 1:45 in the morning, basically, back in Jacksonville after the orange and blue game. So if you hear me yawn, maybe sounding a little bit tired, well, it's because I am. It's been a long day there in Gainesville, watching these Gators get on the field to end spring practice in Billy Napier's second season. Right here in the orange and blue game, where the defense leads the way. Maybe surprisingly, maybe not surprised. We'll get into it. Maybe what it means, maybe what it doesn't mean. It was a spring game. As I said earlier this week when we were previewing it, this is going to kind of live in its own bubble. Don't really know how much to take away, what to take away, and what it all means when the team gets back together in fall and goes plays Utah in game one. We've seen many a spring games where some great performances never pan out. We've seen some spring games where bad performances don't really mean a whole lot. So we'll look at it, what happened here, maybe some of the storylines along spring practice to go along, what culminated into the orange and blue game. But one that was not very high scoring. The orange team wins 10-7. And just not all that exciting from the offensive side. If you were looking for an improved defense, maybe we get that. Maybe. And hopefully that's what this means. Austin Armstrong, man, I tell you what, fiery right there on the sidelines. Like seeing him jumping around and all the excitement he brings. You could everything that we saw the videos all spring long, but everything that we heard about him as the fiery, energetic, getting everybody hyped, man. We saw it. We saw it on. I noticed it those bright orange shirts, and he's on that sideline, and I noticed right away. He's that guy. He's everything that they explained him to be all throughout spring, whether it be all the coaching staff and the players. That absolutely he brought it. So that was good to see, and leading this defense there and their performance. But we'll get into the quarterbacks. Graham Mertz, Jack Miller. There's your top two quarterbacks. No doubt about it with all the snaps that they took in this game compared to Max Brown. So Graham Mertz looked the best. We'll get into that. Get some stats here. Go through the game just a little bit. Definitely not play-by-play or anything like that. But we'll get into the plays a bit. But before we get there, everybody hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Coming at you on the ride back to Jacksonville. Staying up late. Getting you the spring game. If you waking up in the morning, if you're not listening, a few of you live, thank you so much for joining me live right here. But you waking up, whether it be on YouTube or the podcast version, here you go, getting it ready for you. You want to have it ready for Friday morning, so you on the way to work or you just sipping on that coffee. I know you want some feedback. I know you want some updates. I know you want to discuss the spring game a bit. So I'm bringing it to you right here on Gators Breakdown. So for all of it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to Gators Breakdown podcast versions out there too if you have not. And the conversation, of course, is going on in that Gators Breakdown Plus Discord. It was lively. It was lively during the spring game, talking about all that. So if you want to talk with some other Gator fans, link is in the description to join Gators Breakdown Plus to keep that conversation going. So, all right, let's get into it just a bit. Then we'll go over some guys that were not on the field. We weren't necessarily sure. Some guys, we knew some guys who weren't going to go and take part in this spring game, but we got a list of some players that were going to be out, and this one probably paid or went on to affect the game a whole lot more. And Billy Napier said it after the game. No Kingsley Aguakin out there at center. There for the Gators, Jake Slaughter, Roger Kearney getting starts, and issues with snaps all night. And we saw it. It affected the offense there. So no Kingsley Aguakin, no Dante Zanders. We know you guys heard tight end episode not long ago. He was banged up. So maybe precautionary, keeping him out. Of course, no Keon Zipper or Jonathan Odom at tight end either, of course. Jaquavion Frazier's at wide receiver did not play in this game. I moved to the other side of the ball. Aaron Gates, Ethan Pouncey, Devin Moore, some cornerbacks there. Devin Moore still nursing and recovering from the shoulder. No need, I guess, for the staff to put him out there. No Derek Wingo, of course, but then no Taraja Mitchell either. So the transfer, who's expected to contribute a good bit on the defensive side of the ball, we do not get to see him in this orange and blue game. So there's, and probably Mitchell and Iguacan, the two big ones that probably could have, well, it didn't really hurt the defense, though, did it? But Kingsley Iguacan not at center. And for this Gator offensive line, that pretty much struggled all night long. You guys know I'm pretty high on that group. And we knew coming into the game, put it out there, I didn't think we'd see our starting 5 offensive linemen a good bit together out there in these combinations. And also, Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, after in the press conference did say, look, they were asked about the playbook, but we didn't see a lot of the playbook. So I know Graham Mertz kind of laughed about it, about the let me try and get the exact wording for when I put that. I was sitting in the press conference. Yeah, Mertz was asked about how much of the playbook we saw tonight. Now, you guys can take this for what it's worth. You probably have the way you feel about the offense and how it performed or did not perform tonight, but he was asked, and look, spring games, you're not getting the whole playbook. We all know that anyway. Doesn't mean you don't go out and perform. Doesn't mean you go out there one-on-ones and win. We didn't see that from the offensive line, did we? But still, as far as the play calling goes or playbook goes, Mertz was asked about it. He laughed and said, not a whole lot. And then Jack Miller, a few minutes later, in his part of the press conference, he followed that up with pretty much day one install level. So not a lot of offense deep dive into the play calling sheet there for one Billy Napier. So, all right, here we go. And we'll go through the game just a bit. Then I'll go through some stats. Early third down. You guys know, I speaking about this run game, and as good as it was tonight as well in the spring game, and as much as I feel it can be good, still something we saw maybe a good bit last year, where I said I wanted some more consistency in the early third down, where Carroll couldn't get the first down. And then, but hey, defense gets to stop on third down. So, hey, that's the thing about this spring game. If the defense did well, which a lot of us wanted to see, means the offense wasn't going to do as well. That's just what spring games are. But then, we'll go and just go through some names. Caleb Banks, active early. A transfer, a new face coming in to this Gator team. And what would him and Cam Jackson look like up front? And boom, getting noticed right away, especially Banks. Sack on the first play of the game for the Blue defense. And then that leads to a third down and a sack by Scooby Williams. So 2 players we've discussed this whole spring as where would Scooby Williams play, edge or linebacker? How effective could he be if he's staying at linebacker? And then Caleb Banks, a new transfer from Louisville, right there on this defensive line. Was hearing good things about him all throughout spring practice. And those 2 players, sacks on the first drive. Hey, a third down comes up and boom, there we go. We get a sack on 3rd and 10. We want that to translate, don't we, to the season? So then the blue team had the ball on its first possession, and that's where freshman linebacker Jaden Robinson blitzes and gets a sack. So that would be a trend for the rest of the night, right? Is this defense attacking? We knew they would attack. There were, some Jaden Robinson right here. Man, he flashed some speed. I knew he was on the kind of faster side of a linebacker, but it's out there on the college football field, already impressive speed that I thought Jaden Robinson was showing as a true freshman out there. So very athletic. That we know, and really, really opened my eyes as far as his speed goes and how fast he could turn it on. But this defense, I mean, they were bringing it up front as well and getting creative up front, and even some stunts up there. And there were some blitzes. I liked the aggressiveness there that Billy Napier allowed Austin Armstrong to have. So, but yeah. sacks early on. That would be the trend for the rest of the night. First team offense was led by Mertz. First few drives, 3 and out, 4th down stop. Then his third drive of 1 first down, then a punt. You had Cam Carroll at the running back position. He had a highlight hurdle on a 12-yard run. Next play after that, Miller had a couple of options, and we finally find Marcus Burke for the first touchdown. 16-yard reception to cap off a 12-play, 82-yard drive. Trayon Webb, true freshman, on that first touchdown drive of the night. 4 rushes, 27 yards. For the true freshman there, all these new faces, whether it be the transfer portal, a lot of true freshmen out there. Trayon Webb. And 2 guys in my area in Jacksonville covering Jaden Robinson, Trayon Webb. Hey, their names getting called. Marcus Burke from Jacksonville as well. I mean, it was you had some colleagues of mine, Jamal St. Cyr from News for Jacks, and we were hoping these Jacksonville kids could go out there and show out. Just makes our news product better. So if we get to talk about these guys, especially Marcus Burke with his big night, with the big touchdown catch and the big contested catch that would come up later. Miguel Mitchell we saw it spring, couple highlights, missed tackle, and that led to a Montreal Johnson 27-yard run. Play after that, one play leads to another big play. Graham Mertz hits Caleb Douglas for a big gain of 28 yards, but Kamari Wilson with a hit, causes a fumble, recovered by Shamar James. Max Brown comes in, eventually goes 3 and out on his drive. Then back to Mertz later on. He has a nice throw to Henderson for about 19 yards. And he was right there, had 2 good strikes in a row in that little stretch. Pretty run heavy before that. He was 5 of 7 at that point, 54 yards. This is before halftime. At one point, it's 3rd and 20. That goes for a 41-yard pass from Mertz to Pearsall, one of the best plays of the night for the offense. And then Mertz finds Khalil Jackson on back-to-back throws. Second one goes for a touchdown over the middle, 7-7 right before halftime. And then, there's still not much happening. Game ends up 10-7. So only a field goal, and that would be to end the game as the Orange wins 10-7. But going to the second half, first big play of the second half was a Jack Miller to Caleb Douglas pass for 23 yards. Mertz and Miller would switch teams. First, the quarterbacks would switch. Miller now with the Orange offense, the first team offense. Later on, that 3rd and 7. So big, some not many 3rd down conversions for the offense on the night, but big plays. There were some big plays on the 3rd down. 3rd and 7 for Mertz. That's where he found Burke for 39 yards down the right sideline. Pass interference was declined, and something that was an emphasis for these receivers this spring practice were the 50-50 balls and the contested catches. And we saw that. And I think we saw that. Now, too many times, with some sloppiness, the timing of the offense was just a little off. I think maybe receivers not in some right places, but still did show, I thought, some physicality in at least going up and getting some of these balls. Pearsall, as I mentioned, that catch, he caught it in traffic. Not really contested, but was able to go up between some defenders to get that ball. But Burke, as pass interference all over him, goes up, catches the ball down the deep sideline, 39-yard there. But all through the night, the timing just off. Bad snaps, mishandled snaps, and an offensive line that just did not give the quarterbacks a whole lot of time. The quarterbacks were throwing on the run more than they were able to sit back in the pocket, be comfortable. They were late on some throws as well at the same time. All that leads to, at the very end, Trace Mack, after missing a couple field goals, hits a game winner for the Orange team. 10-7 final there. So let's take a look at the stat sheet just a bit. That'll also tell us a little story of the game as we go through them. But here you go. For the Orange, I'll go through it total. So Team Orange counted for a total of 307 yards. led by Graham Mertz, 143 yards passing. Ricky Pearsall, 62-yard receiving. Trevor Etienne rushing for 51 yards. Three quarterbacks together, Max Brown, Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, 403 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Right there for the Orange. Or combined there. One more time. 3 quarterbacks, Max Brown, Graham Mertz, Jack Miller, 403 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. No interceptions on the night. So one, with the defense attacking and causing all that havoc and all that pressure in the quarterback's faces, no turnovers. But looking at when they were with the Orange, which were the starters, so you had your starting receivers, you had your starting running backs. Graham Mertz, 10 of 16, 143, 1 touchdown. Jack Miller, 5 of 9, 95 yards. Max Brown, 1 of 3, 15 yards. So those guys combined for the Orange team, 16 of 28, 253 yards, the 1 touchdown. Ricky Pearsall, 4 catches on the night, 62 yards. Had that 141-yard reception, as I mentioned. Xavier Henderson, 3 for 38. Arliss Boardingham, we're looking at these tight ends, maybe getting a little more action. 3 for 33 for Arliss Boardingham. Depth taking a hit there at the tight end position with all the injuries this spring. Of course, just talked about those tight ends right before the spring game. And then there goes Arliss Boardingham, 3 for 33. Caleb Douglas, 2 catches, 51 yards. Khalil Jackson, 2 for 18 and the 1 touchdown. So good for Khalil Jackson, making the most of his spring game opportunity there. But Caleb Douglas, the minus the fumble, some catch and run opportunities. Run game, I don't think we're worried there, are we? Not at all. not at all. Trevor Etienne, 9 carries, 51 yards. Montrell Johnson, 7 for 36. That'll be your running backs. Quarterbacks, okay, you can see the stats there. Not nothing too much, especially with the way sacks are tallied. And granted, most of those sacks would have been legit. But no need in kind of wasting time about theirs. Jack Miller did, he did have a couple of keepers. Reading the defenses, going around the edge. He did have some keepers. He said after the game he felt faster, of course, and now healthy, getting healthy. But the Orange offense going against the Blue defense, and let's go, the Blue defense here. Shamar James leads the way, 6 tackles, along with Jalen Kimber and his 6 tackles. Kamari Wilson, 5. So it was the first team offense versus your first team defense. One more time, Shamar James, Jalen Kimber lead the way, 6 total tackles. Kamari Wilson with the 5, and then, of course, the forced fumble. Manny Nunnery, we've heard about his athleticism from the linebacker position. Found himself with 5 tackles. And then keeping it going there, Tyreek Sapp with 3, Princely Human McYellen with 3, Miguel Mitchell 2, Banks with 2, as I mentioned, and he had the sack at the beginning of the game. Let's go to the Blue offense. Of course, quarterbacks on that one as well. All of them. Graham Mertz on the Blue side, 8 of 13, 101 yards. Jack Miller found his touchdown when he was with the Blue team, but 5 of 11, 49 yards, 1 touchdown. Receiving on that side, Tony Livingston, another tight end, 3 for 9. Marcus Burke did 2 for 55 catches, 2 catches for 55 yards. And going to the rushing stats, highlights there, of course. Trayon Webb, Cam Carroll, the new faces back there in the backfield. Trayon Webb, the true freshman, 11 attempts for 53 yards. Cam Carroll, 9 for 39. Had the big hurdle that excited the crowd. Not much excitement for the offense, of course, but that was one of them. So Trayon Webb, Kim Carroll, I thought, showed their worth. I mean, Florida's got 4 running backs, guys. Florida has 4 running backs. No worry there. And then going against that orange defense right here, Deuce Spurlock, the young transfer linebacker from Michigan, leading the way. 8 total tackles there for him. Just his second year of college football. Of course, this was the side of the ball that were a lot of young faces. So, of course, the young faces are going to be leading the stat sheet. But Deuce Spurlock, 8 tackles. Jaden Robinson, 7 tackles. TJ Searcy, 6. Searcy with 2 tackles for loss. Kelby Collins with 5. Castell with 5. Jaden Hill with 5. Chris McClellan, 4. Javion Toombs, 4. Des Watson, 3. Jack Pyburn, 3. A lot of those young guys, and I was really impressed with the pursuit of one Spurlock. Jaden Robinson, him flashing speed. TJ Searcy, his physicality up front. Nice to see those young guys get their first action. Still going against, I think, a pretty good running back duo in Cam Carroll and Trayon Webb. Going against each quarterback as well. But spring game, what it's for, you see all the young guys there for the orange defense. So, position groups, I think we go through it a bit. Quarterbacks, I get the worry. Of course, any question you probably had coming in, either confirmed it or it's still out there for you. I mean, if Graham Mertz goes out there and you're wondering, going back and looking at his Wisconsin film, would he be good enough to carry the offense? And we didn't get that answer tonight. Not sure we're going to get it anyway. But given the situation up front, offensive line didn't do these quarterbacks any favors. But with that, we certainly didn't get any answer. I think he's going to be the starter. And Billy Napier was asked about transfer portal or bringing in another quarterback. We've all heard about the Austin Simmons reclassification, and Napier didn't necessarily come out and say transfer portal, so that kind of leaves that door open maybe for Austin Simmons to reclassify from 25 to 23, but getting that 4th quarterback in the room. And the spring game dominated by Graham Mertz and Jack Miller as far as snap count goes. So those who get 2 guys leading the way. Looks to be Graham Mertz. Did play the best tonight, but didn't really get our full view of that, because of the limitations, I think, up front in the offensive line. And I was surprised. I was surprised by that, even if I do think the defense will be better and can be better. Are they taking that big of a jump? Are they taking that big of a jump to where, the offensive line really struggled keeping up all night long? I mean, some of the defensive trends here. And Deuce Spurlock, he led the game with 8 tackles, so he led the whole game, led both defenses. Quarterback hurry as well. Manny Nunnery, TJ Searcy, Scooby Williams all had 2 tackles for loss. 5 different players had a pass breakup. Jaden Robinson, Kelby Collins, Jalen Kimber, Manny Nunnery, Cam Jackson. Total of 11 quarterback hurries. 11 were recorded by 10 different players. Princely Human Mielon had 2. I mean, they were in the face of the quarterbacks all night. As I mentioned earlier, it just seemed like almost every throw, especially Graham Mertz, was just on the run. So hard to get a full gauge on the quarterbacks as far as dropping back, hitting some passes with timing, getting the offense in rhythm, in sync. Wasn't there. Run game, I still feel good. Running backs, no issues, no there. No. I had no issues whatsoever. even with the offensive line struggling, especially in the pass blocking area. Run blocking, okay, that was there. Run game was mostly there. Receivers, we wanted to see someone. It was good to see Ricky, even as the number one receiver, still go out there and do the things that we know he can do. But your Caleb Douglas, your Marcus Burke, we wanted to see. We didn't see much from those true freshmen. Throwing the stats back up there. The Aiden Mazel, they were targeted. Andy Jean, he had 2 catches for 28 yards. Aiden Mazel had that big early target early in the game, but that was that sack Caleb Banks got. Jack Miller's dropping back, tried to go deep. Didn't happen. But Mazel's speed was absolutely apparent. You could tell. you could tell the fast guy was out there on the field. But receivers, that's what I kind of wanted. I mean, besides the true freshmen, we heard about them all spring. I wanted somebody who's been on campus, has been through it. I wanted one of those guys to step up. Glad it was Marcus Burke. Billy Napier, I asked him about Burke after the game and had to say about, it's almost, kind of paraphrasing, it's good to see Marcus Burke out there doing those things. Florida's better when Marcus Burke's doing those things. He's healthy. He's taking it a lot more serious. It's time to take the game more serious, especially when right now it is your turn to go out there and prove yourself in the spring game atmosphere where you have every opportunity. And the depth chart says you have every opportunity. It is your time to show up. And this game was it. And he went out there and did it. 2 big catches, touchdown, and 1 down the sideline. With your Caleb Douglases, your Marcus Burke. Now, those are the guys you want to see. Besides the freshmen, they got to go step up. Jaquavion Frazier's is out. Good to see that. And then, of course, defensive line. You can just pick a name. Those guys, out there. Cam Jackson, and Banks. Caleb Banks. They're both transfers coming in. The stats, and it won't be stat galore, and it won't be stat machine for Cam Jackson a lot of the times. He'll have an effect. He had an effect in the spring game. Excited up front. But it was, those linebackers, especially the young ones. Nunnery, well, not young, but new. Jaden Robinson, the true freshman. Nunnery, the transfer in, showing their speed, showing their athleticism. With this defense, controlling the scrimmage. And maybe surprise. Leave a comment out there if how much of was it a surprise that what you saw from this defense maybe better than what you thought? Does it make you more worried about the offense? Are you giving some of the defense the credit? But hard to get a gauge on the secondary. There were some yards there, but a lot of the passes, quarterbacks on the run, not a lot of timing to go along with that. But let's see. We'll go through the comments in just a second. But one reminder. Great tailgate set up by Florida Victorious. And seeing some of the baseball players and the basketball players and softball players and other student athletes coming by, saying hello. Everybody's excited for this new NIL. You heard the interview there with Nate Barbera in a recent episode of Gators Breakdown. Florida's new NIL is here, ready to lead the charge. and you can join today. Link is in the description to join Florida Victorious. Let's get Florida on the way where NIL is the way to go through Florida Victorious. All right, let's go. Let's go through a couple comments here. Yep, Q Lee, agree. Yep, going through yep, secondary wasn't tested. Chase, one thing I saw was 3rd and short or 4th and short. They were calling like 15-yard digs. Short game never got on track. Yeah, I agree with that too. As I said, playbook not open, of course, but yeah, you like to, maybe see a little more rhythm and groove in the passing game. Maybe some of the short passing game, like you said. Something we didn't see a whole lot of with success last year. Hopefully, that's better this year. Jeremy Carpenter, good to see our defense putting the quarterback under pressure. Yeah, that's something that's just gonna hopefully continue. Hopefully continue into the season. Retooled up front, more experience up front, building some depth with some experience with last year, first year guys. It's got to pay off. Got our first little taste of it tonight. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Jeremy goes on. Gator Nation needs to relax. First scrimmage. Yeah, I'm not up in arms. I don't feel any different at 2:00 in the morning after the spring scrimmage than I did before. I really don't. Quarterbacks, I was skeptical on, hoping for the best. I don't think a spring football game is going to turn me one way or the other. We've seen quarterbacks go out there and have some great spring games and it not amount to anything. I see the whole Billy needs an OC thing. Another one more. A spring game's not going to be telling me that either. It's hard to know. It's hard to know. I mean, I love it. If we get to talk some football, knowing what to take away from it is tricky. It really is. Not making excuses or anything like that. It's just the nature of the beast. Definitely disappointed with the special teams though. Yeah, missing field goals. I mean, that's almost one of those things where it doesn't matter what the situation is. Spring game, scrimmage, practice. I mean, that's something you want to see. That's no matter the situation, matter the time of day, and especially y'all kind of something we saw last year, hoping to get better. That one is that's probably the most worrisome part for me, because not like an offense that we saw in the spring game, could be so much affected by an offensive line. The quarterbacks can be affected by the offensive line's performance, or a defensive front that's just dominating. It can have an effect. But not really in the kicking game. I don't think those excuses like that are there. Line up, go make a kick. Yeah, Jeremy, Napier wasn't calling plays tonight either. So, but all right, yeah, plenty more to get into. I think Will Miles and I are going to get together on Sunday night Let you guys know about that. Kind of changing the schedule up a bit. Get together closer to the end of the spring game. I'll be able to do a little rewatch there. Miss so much in person that you don't necessarily see on a TV or where you get to see replays and stuff. So hopefully dive back with even more. But initial reaction, initial stat look right here on this reaction episode, where the defense carries the day in the orange and blue game. Recruiting side of it, hey, there'll be another episode about that. Another episode on recruiting, so be on the lookout for that one. Big commit for the Gators. Big commit for the Gators. Somewhat of a tease there. But you guys know. We'll get into that one. So be on the lookout for that one as well. Even more Gators breakdown coming your way. But that'll do it for this spring game recap. I'm your host, David Waters. You can find me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.